Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be focused on building out the homepage of our websites. For a lot of blog sites, the homepage is nothing more than just a simple blog roll. But we often reach a point where it makes sense to do something a little bit more. So today I'm going to be building out the homepage for terraintreaders.com. This is our project charity website. It needs to be done for one, but also I wanted you to get to see the process. I'm also going to take questions the whole time. So feel free to type in questions, but obviously I'll be kind of going back and forth between questions and working on the homepage. I'm also going to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing the whole time too. So thank you everybody, and thanks again for your patience as always. So to start out, I'm going to share my screen here. This is terraintreaders.com, our project charity site. And I'm using the Kadence WordPress theme. It's one a lot of people have requested. It's one that a lot of people recommend. I recommend it too, frankly. I've been using it for quite a while now on this site and a couple of others. A couple other kind of personal projects I've done for organizations that I've just helped out. I really like it. There are other great themes, Astra, Elementor, the theme, or just the page builder, both just fantastic for customizing a website. And you know, one of the things I was getting to was that a lot of these highly customizable WordPress themes have a lot of templates built in. So all the content you're seeing here on Terrain Treaders on the homepage right now, literally I didn't do any of this. It's just there. And in fact, like to make it look like this, right? To have this sort of background, this layout, and then have these images sort of overlap it and stuff, it would take a bit to make that happen if I were just kind of building it out from scratch. And so there's really no point in doing that. So I want to show you what that looks like. When I first installed the theme on the website, it was there, and then I just went in and I basically chose a starter template. Now, for your theme, if you're relatively new to WordPress, there's a couple places where you're going to see all the settings for your theme. Either they're going to have their own kind of spot here in the side in the menu. This is Kadence Blocks. It's a plugin that comes with Kadence, but not the Kadence theme. But sometimes they'll have their own, like Divi has its own spot, and that's where it's going to have all of its settings. Or it'll be here under Appearance. Here with Kadence, it's under Appearance. And then under Kadence, one of the options is Starter Templates, and I click on that. And this is super cool, okay? These are templates that I can use for a single page on a website, or literally for an entire website just to start out. And I just go through these templates and I find something that I like. I built out another website recently for an orchestra. My wife's in an orchestra and they needed a new website. And I liked this one. I clicked on it. I really liked the layout. It fit perfectly. They also wanted it to have like a cool calendar feature. And here it's got that, like an events kind of calendar. This is just built in through an additional plugin that, and it was completely set up once I loaded this on the site, and I can view it in a month view or a list view. But also I just really liked the layout. So all I did was I changed the global colors to match the logo and style for the orchestra. And then I literally use these layouts, and then I just sort of remove what I don't need, sometimes add additional things. So that's what I did for Terrain Treaders. But now we're at the point where I've just installed a starter template. It's been there for a few months. And now it's time to actually do something with it. All right. Now, before I jump in, I'm going to go ahead and take a couple questions here, but then we're going to jump right into building this out. Okay. So a couple questions here. I've got Marcus Erickson asking, where do you put your H1 in your homepage when you use a hero section at the top with a different headline? So, first of all, for me, the H1, on the homepage, the H1 is oftentimes just the name of the website, like Terrain Treaders. It could sometimes be Terrain Treaders Home. I don't have any issue with just Terrain Treaders being the H1. And so that's what this is. It's the H1 headline. And you'll see when I go in to build it, you'll see that that is literally the name of the page. I'm pretty sure it's pulling in the name of the page and it's doing it as the H1 header. And so that's usually what I do. If I wanted a different headline than, or a different, like a different H1 than what I want to sort of appear as the headline, Then the H1, I mean, if you're really concerned about that, you could create an H1 and just sort of hide it. And have, it's there, the computer can read it, the text is there, but maybe if I have a solid color background, I just match the background so nobody would ever see it unless they moused over it. A lot of times in a theme, you can take an H1 header, but you can also then take it and change how it physically appears on the website. You could do that and just make it a lot smaller and sort of hide it at the very top. And then have a second, an H2 header maybe that you again sort of reformat to make look bigger. I don't see a whole lot of reason why I would want to do that, but you might have a use case where you really want to. Home Cook's World, is Kadence better than GeneratePress? I wouldn't necessarily say better. GeneratePress is one that a lot of people like, and I'm confident it's really good because people who know, people who are developers, people who other bloggers, they use it a lot and speak very highly of it. It's just not one I have as much experience personally using. There are so many themes out there, I can't have in-depth knowledge, like literally building out whole sites with all of them. So I don't think it's better. I think GeneratePress is another one that, like Kadence, is that has the capability of running very fast websites, and it's just highly capable. From, if I remember right, GeneratePress, though, is one that's maybe a little bit less friendly toward total beginners. Steve says, can I assume no speed issues with this theme, or does it need help from plugins? I don't have any speed issues. One of the things I love, and you're going to see this in just a minute, is that while it's highly customizable here, like Elementor or Divi, it's all blocks based. So it's all built off of and builds on top of the Gutenberg blocks. And so there's just a lot less other stuff going on. I used to love Divi from a customization standpoint. It's gotten to where I can hardly work on a website with Divi because the back end just is so slow. There's so much code and stuff loading. Even if the front end is fine, not super fast, but fine, the back end, working on the website, becomes miserable. That's where I'm at with Divi right now. Okay, cool. And Marcus is answering that too. Kadence is one of the fastest themes without bloatware. Oh, and he mentions caching, and yes, absolutely. Caching today, I feel like ends up being almost like you just do it, right? It just happens almost. We use Cloudways for our hosting. Cloudways has a cache built in. I use Cloudflare for my domain registration, and they do their own caching. They have their whole CDN. If you're on a Zoic or I think the other ad networks too, they'll do their caching too to try to speed up the ads. And next thing you know, you actually end up with too many caches and you end up having to turn some of them off and decide which ones to use. So, but yes, caching is one that basically takes care of most of the issues. The only other speed issue you're going to run into, or the biggest speed issue you're going to run into, is loading large files, large images. And so you just want to be careful that images that you put up on the website aren't any bigger than they need to be. If there's an image I'm going to load that's never going to appear bigger than this little like best sellers spot here, there's no reason it needs to be even like 1200 pixels. I can literally upload it at 300 or 400 pixels wide and it's fine. Plus you've got plugins and stuff that are just kind of automatically resizing for you so that they create smaller versions to render on the screen when you're showing the smaller version, and they're compressing images and stuff to make them take up less space. All right, cool. There's a couple other questions coming in, and some of these I think they're going to get answered as we go. So let's go ahead and start building here. So I'm on the home page. I'm going to click Edit Page. Again, I like this with Kadence. There's not like a separate editor like with Elementor, with Divi. It's like enter the Divi editor, and then I can't, while I'm in the Divi editor, I can't mess with any of the post settings, but then while I'm in like the normal editor, I can't even see the content on the page. I kind of like this how it is. All right, so this is actually apparently an H2, so I'm not sure. Oh, the H1 is just up here, and it's just literally the theme. I just told it don't show the page title. So I might not even have an H1 on this page, in which case I actually probably want to change that to an H1. All right, but let's just talk homepage right now for just a minute. Like, what stuff do we want on the homepage? The home page on most of our websites quickly becomes the most viewed page. I think a large part of that is because people come to all the different blog posts from Google search, right? Or from whatever source. They land on the website on some other blog post, and the most likely page they're going to click through to is the home page, because that's where they're going to learn more about, does this website have more of the information I want? Now, if I do a great job of interlinking, I show related posts at the bottom and stuff, then maybe they'll click through to other stuff more often. But given just all the different sources that can come in, even if only like 2% of all the visitors to the website click through to the home page, since they're doing it from all the different pages, it ends up being a highly viewed page on the website. And there's nothing wrong with, like, let me show you, here's cookforfolks.com, just one of our sites. This is built, this is on Akabato. It's our WordPress theme. It's intended to be very, first of all, fast loading, but very simple to set up. And it's got some feature content stuff, a big hero image, but mostly the blog roll is what's featured. There's nothing wrong with that, especially when you're just starting a new blog. But as we talk more and more about the need for differentiating yourself and for branding, and just kind of all of that being more unique and less of a commodity, I think it becomes more and more important that eventually we build something that's just a little bit more branded and a little bit more custom. So many sites we've built can stay on Akabato and look like this forever. But anyway, back to this. Today we're talking though about customization. So one of the first things I want to do usually is there's, the title of the website, Terrain Treaders. And then I usually want some sort of text that sort of gives people the feel of what we're going for with this website. So for example, with Terrain Treaders, the feel we're going for here with kind of the off-roading stuff, it's less of like the thrill seeking and more of adventure and getting to places that people don't normally go, where there's just a lot of nature, a lot of beauty, and having fun on the journey, being safe on the journey and all that. But it's less about like, hey, I'm going off-roading and I'm going to like go jump my Jeep or whatever, It's less of an X Games kind of feel and a lot more of a getting out there into nature sort of a feel. And so, I might create something here that's got a little bit of a tagline, getting to places people don't go and enjoying the journey all along the way. I don't know, maybe it's something like that. And I might build that out a little bit more. It's kind of seems a little bit short for here. The other thing I might do, it feels kind of small. So what I can do here over on the right, Kadence there's the normal like text blocks for Gutenberg, but then they have advanced text that gives me just a lot more customization capabilities. So here I can make this font size like 18, 20. And then I guess I can probably just add a line break there. Nope, that's too, all right. I'm gonna put a line break right there. All right. Then you'll notice there's a button here. This is again, just part of the template. I could get rid of it for now. I like at the top of websites, usually very early on, having some call to action. If there's a piece of content, a specific piece of content I could send people to get started. Later in the future, if I have some sort of a membership, even if it's like a Patreon, anything like that, or subscription, or even just like a newsletter, the button could say, subscribe for updates. And then this text might have a little bit more information, something along the lines of, we like to keep people up to date on the latest happenings in the off-roading world. Our subscribing is completely free and we'll never spam you or something like that. And then there's a call to action button. For now, I think I will probably, so I can click into the button, and again, I've just got all the information right here. I can put the link there. I can click style. I could change the colors and stuff, but I don't need to because I've already set the global colors for the site. And if I ever want to change them, because like, we don't have the logo finalized yet for this website, so we don't necessarily have like exact colors chosen. And so I'm going to leave it alone, because if I decide to change the global colors, I want this button to update. So I'm not going to put a custom color, but I will go ahead and I'm going to write start here. That's another piece of content that I like to create, or another page or something like that. Oftentimes on sites where I have fully intend for it to be kind of a bigger site, right? It's essentially content for people who are just kind of getting into whatever the topic is, right? If it were on incomeschool.com, it would be people who are just kind of getting into content creation or blogging. I might have some text that just explains that a little bit, and then start here. And then what I would do is I would direct this using the URL to either a specific piece of content that is just sort of like here's the ABCs of off-roading. Sort of the things you need to know before you go pick a vehicle, even a vehicle type, for being safe and all those sorts of things. It's just kind of like, here's the high-level primer, and then it's usually going to link out to a lot of other pieces of content that dive in deeper on the specific aspects of it. I haven't created that yet. Now, another thing that this could lead to is literally just a page with a whole bunch of like specific featured blog posts on it that go into all those different aspects, even if I haven't created like a primer full of content about it. I hope that made sense. So it could go to a specific page on the site that's full of information that links out to other more specific blog posts, or it could be just a page with all those blog posts sort of listed. Okay. So I'm going to leave that for now. I think that's a good start. If I have this start here button, for now, I'm just leaving the link blank. I don't like leaving it for too long. So before too long now, I probably need to go in and create that content. In the future though, I'll probably update that once we have something else to call to action, to call them to, right? All right. Okay. Exploding Games, your question about the newsletter, we'll get to that here in just a minute. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and cover that now. The best place for it on the homepage, it depends a little bit, but I will give you a straight answer. But it really depends on sort of the order of value of the different things. Okay. So I'll tell you, like on Income School, on the homepage at the top, we're featuring Project 24. That's the thing that's the most valuable to me for people that go to the Income School website, is for them to be able to see that exists, that we have this for them, and that they can click through and get more information. Then I show them like, these are other tools that we have that can help you, some free, some not, right? We tell them about, we have the Income School YouTube channel, and we have channel makers, we have Akabato, our WordPress theme. These are things that we have for you. Then oftentimes I'll have like some featured content from the website. Basically, I want to show and I want to point people to my content. And then I might have some testimonials if that support maybe those products that I sell. Those might even be before the featured content. Depends again, if I get more value from directing people to the content and letting that work on them for a bit before trying to pitch them more on the product. Oftentimes on the home page, a sign up for a newsletter ends up kind of at the bottom. And that I see that a lot on other people's sites, on big company websites. And, I don't know that that's necessarily the best place for it. I think though that oftentimes it just, unless you have a really good newsletter and that's like something people would really want to sign up for, like they come here because they've heard about it and they just want to get on it, then it's probably not something you're going to convince them of really easily. And so oftentimes my strongest calls to action for that are in the content of the website, in blog posts, where I have just a strong reason to say, hey, by the way, for this topic, this is something we talk about extensively in our newsletter. Make sure you sign up for it. It's totally free and you'll get an email from us every 2 weeks or whatever. So for today, I'm going to show that, and I'm going to put it actually probably at the bottom of the page. All right, the next thing, so working our way down, the next thing I want to include, this is built into this template, but I really like this. I like to feature just a few specific things from the website. It might be that there's a blog post that's really good. It might be like here, I might say like our favorite gear. And so, and that would just be like a link to like a recommended products page where basically we have almost like a listing of a lot of the favorite gear that we've tried out, that we've tested. And so this is just a place where people can go and just see like, oh, these are all the cool things that you guys have recommended based on your testing. And so I would put that there probably. Here I might feature a specific, maybe it's a specific blog post. I could also potentially feature like the start here, but I would do it in a different way. So like off-road off-road essentials or something like that, or off-road essential. Yeah, I'll go with off-road essentials. And you'll notice that it's like it's too narrow, right? At this point, and so it's sort of cutting off. We can fix that. Another cool thing you get with these kinds of themes is I can view like, here's what it looks like on desktop. Although the reality is this isn't full width. When we see it full width, so if I click preview here, you see what it'll look like on a typical desktop. It's still only 2 lines. And so I'm not that worried about it. But I can also click here and I can see what it's going to look like on a mobile device. And again, it doesn't run over. I can see what it's going to look like on a tablet. Okay, that I'm not liking. So I might have to play around with this and choose to have this. Yeah, I'm going to have to play around with that in the tablet mode. Tablet's going to get the least amount of traffic, but I don't want it to look like this ever. And so what I can do is I can make some adjustments while in sort of the tablet view, and those adjustments won't carry over to the desktop view and the mobile view, which is pretty cool. So I can go one by one. All right, I'm going to go back to desktop for now. And then here I might say there might be like a category maybe that is just like off-road safety. And maybe because it's all, the whole site's about off-roading, maybe I just remove off-road and it's just essentials, safety, and just, you know, gear favorites or something like that. Okay. And then the images, you'll notice like these images, like it's kind of cool that the template that I picked was already kind of in the right style with the right kind of images. But here, kind of in this section, this row is how it is in Kadence. This image, you look at it and you're like, where's the image? Like the content. It's because it's here and it's the background. It's not the content of that section. It's the background. So that's where it is. And I can click edit image and I can select a different one. Now, it's right now, I don't have tons of images like uploaded to the website, but as I've been out and about hiking and off-roading, I've been taking lots of photos. I've been taking video clips and stuff. And so it won't take very long for me. I was actually trying to pull some yesterday and I realized they're like all on my phone. I don't want to take forever doing this here, but if I scroll back, actually, I just took a picture of driving through a redwood tree last week because that's where I was. I went with my family to the redwoods. That'd be kind of cool in the Suburban. So that's, you know, a big kind of off-road vehicle. But you know, I was recently out too doing some hikes and stuff with my brother. Got lots of photos of the Forerunner, that kind of stuff. So I can do that too. And then so basically what I'm saying is I like to do that kind of when I'm doing the thing that my niche is about, my topic. When I'm doing those things, I take lots of pictures. I get lots of little video clips and then I upload them. I should have already uploaded them to my computer and categorized them, grouped them maybe by topic, and then they'd be there. The other thing that I like to do with all those images is before I upload them to the site, even though Yes, like we can use short pixel to compress the images and even resize them. I do like to put them into Photoshop, crop them exactly how I want them and size them down real quick. So that's something that I should just do, like batch that. When I come in with photos, I should just do that. And then I could just upload them directly to the site with good titles so they're easy to find in the media library. So for right now, I'm going to leave these exactly as they are because I might actually change what these topics are. But I think for right now, this is good. All right, we're going to move on to the next section. I'll go ahead and take a couple questions here. Let's see. Bullet Singh says, which keyword research tool do you use currently? Full transparency. I have subscriptions to Ahrefs and SEMrush in large part because I like to, one, constantly test what they actually can do. Sometimes I'll pull the numbers and just see again, yep, they're still way off. But they also do have some really helpful things that, like, just for coming up with different topics. There's like some of the keyword research that it will do. It'll just like give me huge lists of potential, potential keywords or queries. I don't even like to look at the keywords. I like to look at it in the form of queries because that's how people search. People don't search based on just keywords. And really that's not how Google works anymore either. And it's only getting further that way to where, like, for years now, ever since like, especially the BERT update, semantic SEO, basically where Google would take whatever somebody typed in and try to understand its meaning and then provide results based on the meaning of the search. Keywords became less of a thing. It's more about the query and the topic. And then now, as we move toward this more AI-based SEO, it's even more so that way, where basically using the AI capabilities like we see with ChatGPT, but also with Bard on Google, basically it can understand normal human text so much better that keywords become meaningless and it's all about queries. So I look at the queries sometimes mostly for ideas, but I completely ignore the numbers. Honestly, you can use ChatGPT. My favorite keyword research tool when I really am just doing my search analysis, I'm trying to figure out what things I want to write about or need to write about, I'm using Google. I'm seeing what comes up in the people also ask, to just sort of see what related queries and topics Google sees, like for this entire sort of cluster of information. And that gives me the absolute best view of the topics that Google sees as interrelated. If I'm going to ignore the numbers on Ahrefs and SEMrush anyway, then the only value I get from them is just a huge list of ideas. And I ignore the numbers honestly, because sometimes ones that they say get real traffic, they get very little. And so many of them that say 0 just get plenty of traffic, sometimes even thousands of page views a month on posts we've written that were catering to those queries that get apparently 0 monthly search volume or 0 to 5 or whatever. So you usually end up with a huge list on those keyword tools, by the way, that just say, oh, yep, these all get 0 traffic. And so many of them just don't. So I usually try to focus on what Google sees as interrelated topics. And then in terms of estimating search volume, in Project 24, we teach some different methods, more of kind of just thought exercises to figure out the types of questions that are likely to be asked by more people. And it's actually pretty simple. Anyway, so there's that. Marcus, I showed that in, you asked about seeing it in mobile. I did it for you. There you go. I hadn't seen your question yet, but I thought that was important to see, especially with things like this, when you have elements with columns and stuff. By the way, on another website, I had, well, I'll show you. I'm just going to show you. I've alluded to this already. CanyonCountySymphony.org. I built this website out for my wife's orchestra. And on this About page, I'll show you, this is just a good example of this. I have, the director here on the left and then his About info on the right. And then from a design standpoint, I thought it'd be great to have their flute orchestra director sort of in verse, right? But by default, when you go to mobile, it's going to go left column, right column, left column, right column. So what it looked like was picture, a bunch of text, a bunch more text than the other picture. And with so many people using mobile devices, that doesn't work. In Kadence, I was able to go in and say, reverse the order of the columns for this section. It's just a second row in Kadence. And so now on mobile, it just goes picture, then content, and then picture, and then content. So you can do all that. You can customize all that for, like in this case, for mobile. All right, back here. I haven't even gotten past the first row. Okay, this next thing here is, you see this a lot on just a lot of people's websites where basically it's logos of different places where this brand or this content is featured. I like it. I think it's a cool thing. I think it speaks to the credibility of the website. Obviously, these are just filler fake logos, and I don't have anything to show yet. This is not featured anywhere yet because it's a brand new website with literally still one published blog post. So what I can do here, and by the way, in Kadence, this is an advanced gallery, is what this is. It's a gallery of images. If I want to select this whole section, I can click that and it will give me the whole section, right? Then the next thing that I can do is I can say, well, I like this and I want to have it, but I don't have any content for it yet, right? So I think it might be under advanced. Yep, visibility settings. I can just hide it for now. Okay, so notice it's still here on the back end. When I update this page and then I go to preview it, once it refreshes here, it's just gone. And so there are elements of this page that I may want to keep, but I just don't have anything to put there yet. And so that's what we're going to do, is we're just going to hide them for now. Okay. All right, cool. The next sections here are all based on this being a store. It's not a store. Okay. So some things that we can do here. Some of these are just going to go away, right? They're just going to be gone. Let's see. I have a couple notes of things I was wanting to do. I hid the logos. Let's see, right down here where it says explore our categories. I like this layout here. I think I can use it in the future. This could be, in fact, I think I might even keep it now. And so what I could do here is I would change all this text, right? Maybe I'll even say something like explore the outdoors. And then I'll probably get rid of this new collection text, although I kind of like the different color, like supplemental text before. And so I might come up with something to put there. And then here, this text I'd replace with something that explains sort of what these are going to be. And then for these, again, I'm going to update the images, but I think what I would want to do is replace these with some of the categories from the website, right? So things like vehicle selection, something like adventure planning, and then here like off-road safety. And then maybe I just don't need any sub content here. And then literally like I'll have this link to just the blog archive page for that category. Or if I don't have a category on WordPress for vehicle selection, what I might do is I just might tag all of the articles. So we've often said like, I don't worry about tags for blog posts, like from a meta tagging standpoint for like SEO, doesn't matter, right? But if I want to be able to categorize articles multiple different ways, tags can be a great way to do it, because I can create then, or really WordPress kind of automatically creates, but I can link to a blog archive page. So just like here, you know, there's a blog page, right? And it's just blog. Well, we can do the same thing for different categories. So let me show you here. Here's the one blog post published. Let me go to edit it. And then tags. So right now under categories, it's categorized under ATVs, buying an ATV. So this is vehicle selection, right? So tags, let me tag it as vehicle selection, right? So there's the tag. So then let's see if I can remember the actual like Can't remember if it's tag or tags. There it is. So the URL structure here for me is traintreaders.com/tag/vehicle selection. So any article that is tagged as a vehicle selection related article will show up on this archive page. And so then under vehicle selection here, go to category. I'm just gonna, I'll probably change the text to something like, see all content, or I don't know. I don't love that. I'll have to come up with better wording. And then here, I'm just gonna grab this URL. I'm gonna put it there, okay? So, I mean, I've still got some work to do. I'll definitely want to update images. Like this image should definitely be an off-road vehicle, not boots, right? You know, as we add the content, we've got a bunch written that we just are finishing editing that will get published soon. But as we add this content, we'll decide which categories are kind of going to be most valuable to feature on the homepage. Okay, then what am I going to do with the rest of this? Well, most of this just does not make sense. Maybe at some point it would make sense to feature some specific gear that we're affiliates for, that it's just like every off-roader needs, or that sort of thing. But I don't know. I just don't see it. Maybe, honestly, maybe that could be what I feature here. Maybe it could even be categories of gear. So anyway, I'm going to take this. Let me show you what I have in mind here. I'm going to completely delete this section. I'm going to remove that entire row. This one, I'm going to remove that section and that section. Oops. I just want to remove this section. Okay, cool. And then in here, this row here, I want one column, and I'm going to take this entire section here, and I'm going to move it into there. Because here, where I've got the cool mountain background, there's something else I want to do. So we're going to build this one out from scratch. And I will take a couple more questions here in just a second. Because yeah, we got some really good questions here. So give me just a second. So I'm going to start with some advanced text. The advanced text is everything from headings to paragraph. So I'll make this an H2, and I'm just going to say featured content. Okay. Then I'll hit enter. It's going to give me a new block. Actually, now I actually want a new section. Okay. And this section, actually, no, I don't want a section. Sorry. That's the one thing you do have to get used to with every theme, is kind of sort of how the sections and rows and stuff, different themes call them different things. Okay. So actually, I don't want to include it in this kind of featured content section. So let me go to there and then click add. I think I want a row layout because I want a 3-column layout. And that's why I have to kind of make it into a new section. Okay. Then here, I'm going to put some text. I'll make it an H3, and it's going to be latest posts. Then over here, I'll do the same thing, but I'm going to call this featured videos. We are going to be making video content for this website. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that here in just a second. And then over here, I'll do a third one that's just like, I'll do featured posts. This is maybe where I'll put some of our most popular posts or something like that. Okay, so then under this, in this column, I'm going to add, oops. You can do like a query loop. I'm going to do, let's see, let me click browse all because I'm not remembering exactly. I could do a post grid feel like there was another option. I thought there was like, oh yeah, just posts. And like, I'm just going to do it so we can see what they look like, right? So I only want to see 3. Let's go to layout settings. I only want 1 column, right? But like this layout, I'm not loving, right? So let's go to style. Oh, that's weird. Why did it? Okay, columns 1. I want that to stay that way. Okay, now I'm going to go to style. So if I click here, I want the font size to be smaller. Maybe I'll shorten the excerpt. Maybe I'll put the image on top. I can choose which of these things I want. Do I want to even show the date here? Maybe I don't need to. Do I want to show categories or not? Just kind of all of those things. Content settings. Now, the other option would have been, so let me remove that because I think that I want the other one. So I'll do the post grid because I think I have more customization for sort of the layout. Okay, so here, yeah, select the initial style. Where'd it go? And I want, yeah, we could go with something like this maybe. And again, I say I want to show just like 3, and I want to have, yeah, I've got a lot more options here. Layout settings, and I want 1 column. Yeah, we'll go with that for now. And then for featured videos, I would do the same thing, but this is a cool where here I can say select posts by query. And a query basically says I'm going to choose some taxonomy. I'm going to choose like a category or a tag, right? Or an author even. So I want posts, select posts by query, newest to oldest, and then I can use pagination if I want so that people can click through to other ones from that category. And then here, filter by category or filter by tag, or I can select a different taxonomy and I can, right now, those are the only options it's giving me, but maybe because I only have 1 author, I don't know. But I think you can even select, you know, author. I thought so. We'll see. Anyway, we'll do it. For now, it's just, this is the latest content, so I'm not actually selecting any taxonomy, right? I'm just including everything. And it'll just show my latest 3 posts. And then below that, for latest posts, I'll probably put like a button that says, see more. Oops, that's the link. The link will go to terraintraders.com/blog. So this is just going to take them to the blog, and I'm just going to say view more recent posts, or just view more or recent posts. Either one, probably just view more. Right? And so then people who come to the site are going to be able to view, they can click there and it's going to take them to the blog with all of the latest posts. Featured videos, I'm going to do the same thing, except what am I going to do? The videos that we publish on YouTube we'll also put on the website as individual posts. And each one of those, maybe the text for the post will just be the same as the description from the video, but I'll add some links and stuff. And I will tag each one of those posts as a video. That'll just be a tag that I put in there. And so then I'll have featured videos that show up here, and people can see the video content, and then the view more could take them over to the YouTube channel. I could just say watch on YouTube or something. Then featured posts here, I would again do the same thing, except the difference is, in fact, here, this is kind of cool too. Maybe I've got this layout just how I want it. And so I'm just going to duplicate it instead of kind of recreating it over here, and I'll drag it over. By the way, duplicating is such a time saver. All right. You just got to get it right where you want it, right under featured posts, right there. Then here, I'm just going to select post type, post query, and then by tag. And I don't have a tag for video right now, but that's what I would do. Or no, this isn't videos. I'm sorry, I was going to show you the other way. Here, instead of query, I'm going to select them individually. So then here I can literally pick specific blog posts that I want to feature. So for now, I'll feature the one blog post that's published, but in the future I can update this, and this one just wouldn't have a view more. Okay. All right, cool. So I'll come back and update this one again once I have some video content to show. All right, I'm going to come to these questions now. Marcus asks, what are your thoughts on having a news section with latest articles on the homepage? I think that's fantastic. If you're in an industry, by the way, where there's any value in like posting news, which honestly is something that more of us could do, okay? It's just hard because if you don't have a lot of time to keep up to date with the latest all the time, news can be overwhelming. It can be a lot to try to keep up with. And then you put out content and it's mostly only really relevant for a little while and then it fades, right? There's a news cycle. And so it just doesn't seem like the best use of time for a lot of us. But if you get to a point with the blog where it's something you can keep up with, or you get a writer or two, you know, even just freelancers who are just in your industry and want to publish, maybe it's a way that they can establish their credibility online within the industry. Not necessarily to build their own blog, but a lot of people will have a reason for wanting to establish credibility or make a little money on the side. And you can get them to cover events. Maybe you can get them to write about upcoming events in the industry or just news and happenings. I might have a whole section like this that is just news with multiple articles, depending upon really how much recent news or upcoming stuff there is, right? If there's just a little bit of news, then featuring one strip of like 3 articles might be plenty. Really, I don't want to on the homepage be displaying news that's like 4 months old. So if there's just not a lot to keep up with, then building out a whole homepage full of news articles that are old, I don't think adds a lot of value. Okay. But I love it. I think it's a great thing we could potentially add. Okay. And then Armando says, I'm receiving some guest post requests for my website. Can having someone writing a blog post for you actually help your domain authority? It depends who they are. We've turned down a ton of guest post requests because most of the time it's someone with little or no domain authority and they're just trying to get a backlink. The content, they'll tell me, oh, I'll write a relevant article for your audience, but really it's not that relevant. It's only like tangentially related. They want a backlink because like incomeschool.com has domain authority. It's a known brand. And so like they're somewhere in the making money space, but it's pretty unrelated and they want to write an article for the audience and it just doesn't fit. So I usually turn them down, but a lot of that is because you just need to be willing to vet sort of the author of the website that they're going to link to, that sort of thing. If they're offering to write a free guest post, chances are it's because they're planning to link out. And so, anyway, just something you're going to want to look at. It can help, right? If it's more like a situation where, someone's like, hey, it's like it's relevant and, their website's a little bit more like a peer. I don't have a problem helping out smaller websites. My biggest problem is that most of the people offering to write guest posts, I can tell they're not doing this the way that I would recommend. They're usually just like mass producing content. The article I'm going to get might be written completely by an AI, might not have anybody even looking over it. It's hard to keep up with if you're getting a lot of those requests. So it's up to you. It certainly could help, especially if, that person has built up credibility. They've built up that EAT for their site and for themselves, even a bit, right? I think it really can help your domain authority. It can help build your EAT and just show that like, hey, if this person who maybe isn't more authoritative than you, but they've built some decent authority and it's good content, but they also wrote on your site, they're kind of voting in favor of you as well. They're saying, yeah, I wrote on that site because it's a good, legitimate site. So there's some good reasons for that. There's a lot of good comments here. Which theme builder is this? This is Kadence. Thanks, Marcus, for keeping up with that. Cool. Not tons of questions, I know, mostly because I'm just showing stuff. Matthew Dew says it's hard to test out new things without creating and running 2 separate sites. Got any tips for that? It is tough. There's one option is you can have your one site and then you can create a staging site. And we're doing that right now. I'm literally rebuilding our main brand sites. So Income School, Channel Makers, and we're building out a separate site for Akabato, our WordPress theme. We're literally completely rebuilding them. I've worked with some developers to add some additional functionality because I want kind of single sign-on across all of them because they're all tied to the main business, but I wanted to separate out content. There's just some reasons to want to do that. And so instead of trying to make changes on the live site, which we often do here in WordPress, we're doing this more like how real developers do. When I used to work for HP and I worked on the website, we would build stuff or we would conceptualize stuff, and then designers would design it in a separate tool, and then the developers would build it on a staging site, and then we would push the staging site to the live site. And when we did, we would have to immediately go in and just test everything because sometimes even the process of moving it from staging to live, things would break. But that's a good way to do it. So a lot of hosts have that option. Big Scoots will let you create staging sites. WPX might, I can't remember. We're on Cloudways for all of our sites right now. Cloudways, it's super easy. I click on a site in the back end, like on Cloudways, and it's like one of the options for the site is staging. I say create staging, and it creates a duplicate of the website on, and you can choose like, do I want it on the same server or even on a separate server, right? Create staging. It creates a duplicate of the site on a temporary URL. So it might just be like incomeschool.staging.com. That's not what our staging site is right now, but it just creates it on a temporary URL, okay? And then you can play around with it all you want to. You can test out different themes, and that's a great thing to do, by the way, if you're going to change themes, because a lot of times when you change themes, there's a lot of the design and stuff that breaks, and sometimes even important site functionality that breaks. So if you're going to make a big change, using a staging site is a great way to go. Okay, which starter template, Holly asks. So this one, I'm going to click update here. Let me go to the starter templates. I'll get out of the pumpkin patch one. This one, literally like the images on the site still are from the starter template. And I did the whole site, but I didn't show you guys really that. Let's find the one I used. I think it was a little, yeah, this one, Camping Adventure Awaits, the outdoor shop. It says outdoor shop, but it's like, yeah, it's kind of built, the homepage is built to be a shop. And it does have like, I removed this free shipping thing from the top. I removed the shop and all of the WooCommerce related stuff that automatically pulled in when I pulled this template in for the whole site. But it built out the about page, all of these other pages to look really good from the beginning. So, but I can import a single page or the full site. If you want to see what the other pages on the site look like, I can click the about page and, oh, look, cool. It shows me the formatted template for the about page. That's cool. Contact page, what they do here? Oh, okay, cool. They just made a simple contact page. They also threw in a map here and then send a message. That's cool. FAQs, well, warranty is not going to make a lot of sense. A lot of these aren't going to make sense for me. But maybe the layouts are something that I'd like for some other pages on the site, etc. And then the blog, I can see, oh, here's the layout they use for the blog. Ah, it looks nice, cool. So I went ahead and I uploaded the whole template, including I liked the footer, the way that they laid out the footer. So I'm pretty sure I just copied that right in as the full site template. If you only copy in a single page, like, oh, I like the blog page, I'm just going to copy in that page, you won't get the header and footer with it, which is another reason to do the full site at the very beginning, right? If that's something that you like. So anyway, that's the one I chose, is this outdoor shop is where I started. Now, because these images are from the template, I will want to replace them. And I absolutely will. This says there's an autosave that's newer. I'm just going to keep the one I have. All right, cool. So I will want to replace those images, even this cool little mountain background. But guess what? I live in a place with lots of mountains. I'll take a cool picture and we'll put it in here. When I click the style here, the background, notice it's just a normal photo. They've just set the opacity. So, and I think it's a little bit of a gradient. And then I can actually move the focus point. There we go. Now it's doing it. Anyway, so it's either opacity or they've done like a white overlay. I can't remember now. We'll set those back to 50/50. So if I do background overlay settings, there it is. The overlay opacity is 100%, and the overlay, yeah, they've done a gradient that goes, I think, from like white to, it's white to white, but right here, the opacity, it's white, but they've just set, I guess that's fully opaque, and maybe this one is partially transparent or something. Yeah, that's what it was. So, so it's fully opaque at the bottom, this kind of gray, and it moves up to somewhat transparent, but the same color. So that's what they've done. So I can just literally replace the image and the overlay will stay the same, which is pretty cool. All right, let's see. Let me show you, let me finish out the page here. We're almost done. This little our best seller, I'm gonna get rid of that. I just don't have a need for anything else here. I don't know, maybe some text here. Maybe again, if I had a course or a membership or something, even if it was like a free newsletter, here I might put in like testimonials, you know, what our subscribers say. And then below it, I'm going to get rid of this one too. It's more shopping stuff. Below it in this section here, like it's all set up for me to basically create, instead of putting here like this, you know, subscribe for to be a member and see like our deals and stuff. I'm just going to probably replace this with a simple opt-in form for an email newsletter. Now for, excuse me, for that, what I'd probably do, if I'm just going to have a simple opt-in on the page and not really pitch it very hard, I might say, you know, members get, I'll come up, like, we got to come up with something that would make people really want to sign up for your email newsletter. This goes way beyond just the design of the homepage, but, you know, on Income School and on Channel Makers, our YouTube channel about building YouTube channels, we've come up with this program we call Insiders, where basically instead of it being like, hey, sign up for our email newsletter, it's like, hey, become an insider. And then insiders are the people we reach out to when we want to do case studies and we're looking for example sites or YouTube channels. They're the people who, like, we try to do it monthly, but we do some like an audit, right? Like I've looked at somebody's website, basically done an hour consult on someone's website. I picked somebody from Insiders, did a consult, and then I published it and I pushed it out to the Insiders only. It's a freebie. It's something they get. It's a piece of content that's only for them, that's free. But they're also the people that when we have some sort of a sale or something, they're the ones that we make aware of that sale. That's also the people that we're sort of promoting the sale to, right? But they're the ones that are going to get the first information. They're the ones who are going to know if there's some sort of a discount or whatever. And so it's a great way to do an email list that doesn't feel like it's just an email list. There's some real value there. We've always said that, like, add real value, but it has to not feel just like, oh, we have a newsletter, but I promise it's really good. You're going to be a lot more effective if it's more like, hey, I have something exclusive for you. It's basically like joining my Patreon, but it's free. You just have to recognize that I am going to tell you about my product every now and then. So I might do something like that here, right? Members, I don't love. I would rather come up with a different name. Insiders is a great one that we've really liked for Income School and Channel Makers, but I might come up with something like that. But members get, exclusive. This is kind of generic. I'll come up with something better later, but exclusive content every month. And again, I'll probably just do a line break there. If I hold shift when I hit enter, then it just drops it to the next line instead of making it a new block. And then something like sign up is 100% free. And then I could have the subscribe now button. I might replace it with just an email opt-in button, and to the right, literally just ask for maybe first name, email address. But I will probably also create a link here. Maybe it is a second button like this, where I say learn more. And that would take them to a page where I go into depth about what people who sign up, like what they're actually getting, how often they'll hear from us, all of that information. But I want to give them an opportunity to just subscribe right now if they want to, or to learn more. But anyway, so that's kind of the homepage. Then with that, sort of along those lines, you get also, I actually have done another video where I talked about the footer and building out a footer like this, and why. So I think it's really valuable to have this information. I'm still a little bit floored that with only one article on this entire website, this article is featured in the new Google search. When is the best time to buy an ATV? It's ranking on the first page. At least the last time I checked, there it is, right? So it's the third organic one, I guess technically 4, because there's a snippet above. But then right here in the AI generated snapshot, it's right there. There's my article being featured. And it's, again, a single article on a website that's a few months old, but one article. I was a little surprised. And honestly, I think that things like this just add a lot more legitimacy. They just tick a lot of boxes that make Google a little bit less wary of your new website. All right, I'm going to go back here. I'll take a few more questions. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to, I've gone a little bit over the time I planned, but we had a little bit of a slow start here due to some technical glitches on my end. So if you have any questions either related to the homepage or just anything else right now, I'll spend just a few more minutes here answering those questions. So I'll give you guys a minute if you have anything. I guess FPL Rowie says, hey everyone, how's your day going? Or how's everyone's day going? So far, so good. This is the first thing I've done today, other than like waking up, getting ready, and leaving my home. Oh, there was a couple questions here. Sorry, Matthew Dew says, what fonts do you use and how do you ensure mobile responsiveness? Really, one of the ways that I handle this is I like to try to use system fonts, especially for like the main text. Well, let me go into here. So for terrain treaders, I can go to customize, and we can just see exactly colors and fonts, typography, and you'll see the base font here is PT Sans. Let's see, the H1 font. Well, all this it just says inherit from the global. I thought this is where I set the global. I think though that for the most part we're trying to use, I don't usually use like Google Fonts and stuff. For the most part, I try to use the system fonts. And so basically, like for the text, it might look a little bit different on Safari than it does on Chrome, but it's going to be a very similar sans serif font. I use sans serif. Sans serif is appropriate for web publishing. A serifed font makes sense in like printed, but online it's actually too much. For the most part, people prefer, and it looks better to use a sans serif font, so without those little serif marks. The exception would be if you had a blog that was like meant to sort of look like a newspaper, then maybe you would use a serif font, right? But for the most part, I just keep it pretty simple. The heading font, oh, there it is. The heading font family I picked here is Rubik. That's why it's all inherit. They're all Rubik. I could go specific on the H1, the H2. Rubik, I don't remember where that comes from, if that's a system font or not. So here I went kind of for design, I went for look, but I think it is. I think it's, anyway, I don't remember for sure. On all of my like Akabato websites, I choose to use system fonts, and I just pick sort of which ones I want. And again, I just say, pick kind of this sans serif, something that looks good, and it's like Helvetica and Arial and stuff. And I don't worry too much about it. It's headings are the place where I kind of like to pick something that has sort of the feel that I want for the website. So I hope that wasn't too vague, but hey, that's that. Let's see if I missed any other questions up here. All right, there's more down here. Why did you choose? Let's see. Okay, I'll start with Midnight Music. Is it better to make one long post or short with interlinking? Well, it does depend on the topic, but in general, I would prefer more short posts, in large part because it helps people sort of get to the point of what they want. If the answer that they came looking for is somewhere buried in the post. But when I say short, to me, a short blog post is never under about 1,000 words, and oftentimes ends up more like 1,500. That's how I write, and it's usually because I'm pretty thorough, even when I'm writing about something specific. But I do like to make sure that each post I write mostly covers one specific thing, or it covers, my longer posts often cover a broader topic, but a little bit more surface level, and then links a lot to a bunch of smaller posts that cover those specific aspects of the topic. And those smaller posts will link back to the big one or sort of to the next one kind of in line if there's an order to them. So for the most part, though, I do think that specific articles should probably be covering kind of a more specific thing and then interlink as much as possible, as much as makes sense. That would be my overall preference. It depends a little bit sort of on the topics and the sort of the way that that content makes sense to cluster. So there are exceptions, but if I have to choose between one or the other, it's generally shorter, posts that all link together. Why did you choose this theme with this homepage instead of a traditional blog homepage when it's just a blog anyway? So I talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but I'm happy to cover it again here. I wanted to build out something a little bit more custom because this is a website that I intend to build into a broader brand, not just a blog. So the reason for this, like I mentioned before, for something where I'm gonna mostly just kind of keep it a blog and write a bunch of content and maybe have some video content too, I'm perfectly happy using, like, this is Akabato, our WordPress theme, and I'm perfectly happy keeping it on, like, the homepage is a blog role. We've given a few spots where we can feature specific categories or topics, but I'm cool with that. I think it's fine. But when when I want to build it into a more recognizable brand, build maybe some more authoritativeness in the industry, and build it into, I guess, what a lot of people would call an authority site, then I want to build it with a bit more customizability so that it feels more professional. Now, there's a fine line to walk there, right? We do want to give the feeling that, like, this content is written by normal people. But oftentimes when a website looks kind of janky, maybe a little bit outdated, it loses a little bit of credibility with a lot of people, especially younger users who are just used to using websites that look good. And today with, like, all of these templates and stuff, you don't need to be a designer. I can tell when something looks good or bad, but I don't design well. That's not my thing. It's hard for me to create something that I'm like, that's what I wanted. I create something and I say, that's the gist of what I want. And then I ask someone with a better eye, tell me how to make that better. But when I see these templates, it's just like, voila, thank you. And by the way, I didn't show this, but if I wanted to add, like, let's say here, I'm like, or anywhere here, I want to add another, I'll add another row here or another section. It's fine. Okay. And I'm like, you know, let's see. Oh, there we go. I don't know. Like, I know kind of what I want, but how to build it and make it look good. That's a good question. So I'll just click here on the design library, and it gives me a bunch of pages I could choose from. Oh, I need to resync this, but it's also got patterns, tons of patterns. And it's like, oh, well, here's patterns for columns. Well, some of these look pretty cool, maybe, because if I'm looking for a 3-column layout, oh, you know, something like this, maybe that's kind of what I'm looking for. Oh, counters and stats. Oh, cool. I don't have to just build out this whole grid with 9 counters in it or 9 stats. I can just sort of take this template and it already looks nice, right? Forms. Oh, cool. I could actually take one of these and add it to the page where I was going to put it at the bottom. And maybe I take this, but I like that other background better, and that's fine. I'll just insert this and I'll just move this stuff down into sort of that background in that area at the bottom that I liked. Galleries, accordions. It's just got all these layouts and stuff for me, and I can literally click one and just insert it into my page. It just helps so much. And so anyway, those are the reasons why. It's mostly just because I want to build more of a brand with this website. So for our newer websites, in fact, the 2 big projects I'm working on right now, this is our project charity site, but also my project double time site. I'm taking this route. I'm trying to build something that's not just a blog. Okay, cool. There's my long answer to your question. Holly Goff says, what colors do you prefer to work with for a theme? My color scheme, I usually base it on like a logo. So the color scheme I choose oftentimes will have a lot to do with what the topic is and the feel that I'm going for. So with off-roading, what we've decided is we kind of want to go with the green, maybe even kind of the browns and tans feel more so, and more of a nature green, less of like an army green or a hunter green. And not so much like the orange, the bright orange and yellow that are usually more, they give you more of a feeling of like high energy. They, you know, and so since we're going more for sort of the experiencing nature, getting to cool places and enjoying that adventure, and less on like the thrill seeking side of, which is cool. It's just not kind of the direction we're going. We've decided to go with colors that sort of tie with that. And then what we'll do is we'll build out some logo designs and play around with colors in that, and then come up with a logo we really like. And then we'll build a color palette. And then once we've sort of built our color palette, we'll build it in. So here under customize, I'll build it in to this. I'll replace the colors in the global palette. I mean, they give you these different palettes that you can choose from, but I'll just replace these colors, and basically it'll update buttons, fonts, backgrounds, all sorts of things with the color scheme that we choose. So there's not specific colors I always like to use. I like blues. It's a color I really like. We use it a lot for income school and channel makers and stuff, in large part because it's a color that sort of makes people feel calm and more trusting, I guess. There's some psychology to colors too, that plays into sort of where I start, but then I kind of go down the design side on logos and stuff before I settle on colors. Let's see. What do you think of displaying products like e-commerce site for an affiliate site instead of the blog/review format? I think that there can be a good reason to do that. The one thing that I'm careful of is I usually don't want to make, like, especially the homepage, but I usually don't want to make my blog look like it's a store when people, you know, click on a product and then it takes them to a page that kind of looks like a product page, right? And then they click like they want to buy it and it takes them somewhere else entirely. I think that could kind of throw people. So I usually try to make it really clear from not just the way I talk about the products, but also from my design and stuff, that these are products that I'm recommending. They're not buying them from me. And so I usually won't make it look like a store. Okay. NZ Plays says, would you suggest a futuristic 3D type homepage or a simple minimalist homepage design? I think it really depends on your niche. For a lot of niches, I'm going with something more, I'm just going to leave here, and I'm going with something a little bit more minimalist. You'll notice that there, like, while there's design and stuff, there's also kind of a lot of space around things, extra space. If this were on like my iMac, you'd see a lot, there's, space out to the left and right. It's not over the top, and that's what people are comfortable with right now. And one of the things I like is that, I can update the design over time pretty easily to kind of keep up with what's current, what people are doing. I'll notice a lot that even on like high-tech type sites, they'll use different colors, different images and stuff that feel really techy, even some like 3D kind of stuff or whatever, but the overall feel of the site is still a little bit more minimalist. Sites that just pack way too much, they just pack in a lot of stuff on the homepage, especially. That busy feel I don't think is just doing that well with users that well right now. What is the most customizable WordPress template that you came across? If by template you mean theme, WordPress themes, there are several that are basically totally customizable. I really like Kadence. Divi's super customizable. I just am not happy with speeds and stuff. Their whole page builder system is not built around Gutenberg blocks. And I don't know that when it's ever going to be. And so it's really slow to work on, but customizability is there. If you have more developer skills, then there are some really good ones. I think GeneratePress is one. We talked about that earlier in this live that gives you just a ton of room. My developers have one, and I can't remember if it's GeneratePress or if it's another that is kind of looks bare. But because of that, it's just left the door open for complete customizability. And so they say they use that theme, but then they use Elementor for the building, for the design and everything like that. And it just leaves total customizability. So depending on what you mean by customizability, if we're talking customizability for design, Astra, Kadence, GeneratePress, Divi from a design standpoint, really only, they're pretty open to being able to make it look however you want. In terms of functionality, I think we're still talking Kadence and Astra and like GeneratePress, where it's just a lot easier. You're not going to have as much interaction with plugins and stuff. You're going to be able to do a lot more custom development or plugins and things without it breaking stuff. Divi, I'm having trouble with it breaking stuff on Income School right now. All right, let's see. Let's see, what's a good free blog layout? If you're looking free, then I think, I don't know, I haven't played with a lot of free ones. I actually don't have too much of a problem with the ones that WordPress is just giving us, because we now have full site editing capability. You can actually edit the headers and the footers and everything. And so it doesn't, like, you can do a lot just with like 2023, their theme. But I don't know, playing around with it, it's just not nearly as easy to make it look how I want it to look as when I use a theme like Kadence. But I recognize as well that the pro version of Kadence isn't cheap. They do have a free version though, so that's kind of nice. You can get a lot of these templates for free. There's just a lot of templates, and some of the blocks and stuff that you get are pro, you have to pay for. Awesome. All right, cool. I think we're good. We've gone a bit long today, but I really wanted to get to show you how to do this, as well as get to answer some questions. So thanks everybody for joining us. I hope you were able to learn some cool stuff today, or at least get to see somebody doing things maybe a different way. So thanks for joining, and I hope to see you next time. I hope to be able to spend a little bit more time with you guys live, but we also have a lot of kind of our regularly planned and produced videos coming up on this channel too. So we'll see you all soon.